They say you know your life is over when the lie finally breaks. For Selena Varelli, it happened at a Christmas party. Crimson dress, diamond earrings, husband's empty chair. One notification, one pin drop on a map, another woman's apartment. No tears, just the slow realization that she'd been performing in a marriage that never existed. Across the ballroom, a man named Dorian Cade watched her break in real time and saw something everyone else missed, rage wrapped in silk. This is the story of how she burned it all down and rose from the ash. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this goes. The chandelier above the Grandeur Hotel ballroom cost more than most people earned in a year. Selena Varelli knew because Marcus had mentioned it 3 times during cocktail hour, his hand on the small of her back, his voice pitched just loud enough for the investors nearby to hear. Look at us. Look at what we have. That was the performance. That was always the performance. Now he was gone. His chair sat empty beside her, jacket draped over the back like he'd just stepped away. 40 minutes, she'd counted. The speeches had started. The CFO was halfway through a toast about growth and resilience and the power of teamwork. Selena's champagne had gone warm in her hand. She hadn't sipped it, hadn't moved, just sat there in her crimson dress, smile locked in place, while the room swirled around her like she was drowning in shallow water. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. A notification from the location-sharing app Marcus insisted they both use. For safety, he'd said. So we always know where the other is. The pin dropped inside an address she didn't recognize. An apartment building, west side. Expensive part of town, but not their neighborhood. She tapped it. Street view loaded. Sleek modern facade, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of place where people paid extra for privacy. Her throat tightened. She opened the app's history. Scrolled back. The same address, twice last week. 4 times the week before. Always evening. Always when he told her he was working late, meeting a client, stuck in traffic. Her pulse hammered in her ears, but her face didn't move. Couldn't. Not here. Not in front of 200 people who thought her life was perfect. Across the table, Dorian Cade set down his whiskey glass. He wasn't supposed to be at this table. He wasn't part of the corporate crowd. Wasn't one of Marcus's circle. He was something else. Empire builder, they called him. Fixer. The kind of man whose name came up in boardrooms when things needed to disappear. She'd met him twice before. Once at a charity auction where he'd outbid everyone on a Rothko print without blinking. Once in an elevator where he'd held the door and said nothing, just watched her with eyes that felt like they could see through bone. Now, he was watching again. She felt it before she looked up. That weight, that focus. When their eyes met, he didn't look away, didn't pretend, just held her gaze, calm and unreadable, like he knew exactly what she'd just seen on her phone and was waiting to see what she'd do about it. She stood. The movement was smooth, controlled. She set her champagne down, picked up her clutch, and walked, heels clicking on marble, smile still fixed. No one stopped her. No one even noticed. The CFO kept talking. Laughter rippled through the crowd. She passed the bar, the coat check, the gilded elevator doors, and pushed through the exit to the terrace. Cold air hit her like a slap. The terrace wrapped around the 20th floor, glass railings overlooking the city. Christmas lights glittered below, reds and greens bleeding together in the distance. She walked to the edge, gripped the railing, and finally let her face go slack. Her breath came out in short bursts, misting in the frozen air. She wanted to scream, wanted to throw her phone off the ledge and watch it shatter, wanted to walk back inside and flip the table, shove the champagne flutes into Marcus's face, tell everyone exactly what kind of man he was. But she didn't, because that wasn't how this worked. That wasn't how any of this worked. She'd built her life around being the right kind of wife, the kind who smiled at investor dinners, who wore the right dresses, said the right things, never made a scene. Marcus's career had depended on it. Our career, he used to say. We're a team. And she'd believed him. Believed that if she just played the part well enough, loved him hard enough, it would mean something. It didn't. The door opened behind her. She didn't turn, didn't need to. She could feel him before he spoke. Rough night? Dorian's voice was low, flat. No sympathy, no pity, just observation. She exhaled slowly. You're not very good at small talk. No. He stepped beside her, hands in his pockets, gaze on the skyline. Up close, he looked like something carved, sharp jaw, dark hair pushed back, eyes the color of smoke. He wore a black suit that fit like a threat. No tie, top button undone, the kind of man who didn't ask permission for anything. "Your husband left an hour ago," he said. Her stomach dropped. "You were watching." "I noticed things." She turned to face him. "Why?" "Because you're the only person in that room who looks like they want to burn it down." The words landed hard. She stared at him, heart pounding, and realized he wasn't wrong. She did want to burn it down, wanted to tear apart every lie, every smile, every careful word she'd ever swallowed to keep the peace. "What do you want?" she asked. "Nothing. People like you don't do nothing." His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "People like me? Dangerous. And you're not?" She laughed, sharp, bitter. "I'm a corporate assistant who plans charity galas and picks out centerpieces. I'm not dangerous." "You're wrong." The certainty in his voice rattled her. She looked away, back at the city, hands gripping the railing so hard her knuckles went white. "He's cheating on me." Silence. She didn't know why she'd said it, didn't know this man, didn't trust him. But the words came out anyway, raw and jagged, and once they were out, she couldn't take them back. "I know," Dorian said. Her head snapped toward him. "What?" "I know. I've known for a while." Rage flared hot in her chest. "And you didn't think to tell me?" "Would you have believed me?" She opened her mouth. Closed it. Because he was right. If some stranger had walked up to her 2 months ago and said, "Your husband's cheating," she would have smiled, said thank you for your concern, and walked away. She would have defended Marcus, made excuses, believed the lie because believing was easier than facing the truth. "Who is she?" Selena asked. "Does it matter?" "Yes." Dorian studied her for a long moment, then pulled out his phone. A few taps. He turned the screen toward her. A photo. Marcus and a woman, younger, blonde, laughing in a cafe. His hand on her thigh, her head on his shoulder. The timestamp read 3 days ago. Selena's vision blurred. "Her name's Claire Ashford," Dorian said, "marketing consultant. They met at a conference 6 months ago. He set her up in that apartment, pays her rent, takes her to dinner twice a week. She thinks he's going to leave you." "Is he?" "No." The word was final, cold. Selena looked up at him, and he held her gaze without flinching. "He likes what you give him," Dorian continued. "Stability, reputation, a wife who makes him look good. He's not going to leave that. He's just going to keep her on the side and hope you never find out." Her hands shook. She shoved the phone away, turned back to the railing, and pressed her palms against the cold glass. Every breath felt like it was tearing her apart. She'd given Marcus everything, 5 years of her life, her time, her energy, her trust. And he'd taken it all and spent it on someone else. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because you deserve to know." "You don't know me." "I know enough." She looked at him. Really looked. Tried to read him. But there was nothing there. No sympathy, no agenda, no warmth. Just cold, clear focus, like he was watching a chess game and already knew how it would end. "What do you get out of this?" she pressed. "Nothing." "I don't believe you." "That's smart." The door opened again. Laughter spilled out. Voices, music, the hum of the party still going strong inside. A couple stumbled onto the terrace, drunk and giggling, and Dorian stepped back, creating space. Selena straightened, smoothed her dress, rebuilt the mask. The couple didn't even notice them, just kissed sloppily against the wall and disappeared back inside. When the door closed, Dorian spoke again. "You going back in there?" "I don't know." "You could leave." "And go where?" "Home. Anywhere. Anywhere but here." She thought about it. Thought about walking out, getting in her car, driving until the city disappeared behind her. But then what? Marcus would come home eventually. She'd have to face him, have to say the words out loud, have to shatter the illusion she'd been living in. "I'm not ready," she whispered. Dorian nodded, like he understood, like he'd expected that answer. "Then go back inside," he said. "Smile. Play the part. But when you're ready, us." He reached into his jacket, pulled out a card, and handed it to her. Plain black, white text, just a name and a number. "Call me." She stared at the card. "Why would I call you?" "Because when this gets ugly, You're going to need someone who doesn't play by the rules. You think it's going to get ugly? His eyes met hers, no hesitation. I know it is. He walked away before she could respond. The door closed behind him. And Selena stood there alone, card clutched in her hand, city lights bleeding together below, and felt the first crack split open inside her chest. What? She went home. The penthouse was dark when she walked in. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture that cost more than most people's cars. Everything perfect, everything cold. Marcus wasn't there. She dropped her clutch on the counter, kicked off her heels, and poured herself a drink. Vodka. Straight. She downed it, poured another, and walked to the window. The city sprawled below, endless and indifferent. Somewhere out there, Marcus was still with her, still lying, still pretending. Her phone buzzed, a text from him. Got stuck in a meeting. Be home late. Don't wait up. She read it 3 times. Each word a knife. She could confront him, could text back, I know where you are. Could blow it all up right now. But she didn't. Instead, she opened her laptop, pulled up the location app, and watched the little pin sit motionless inside that apartment. Hours passed. She didn't move, didn't sleep, just sat there in the dark, drink in hand, watching proof of his betrayal glow on the screen. At 2 a.m., the pin finally moved. He was coming home. Selena closed the laptop, set down her glass, and walked to the bedroom. She changed into pajamas, washed her face, climbed into bed. When she heard the front door open 20 minutes later, she kept her eyes closed, listened to him move through the apartment, heard the shower run, felt the mattress shift as he slid in beside her. He didn't touch her, didn't say anything, just lay there, breathing slow and steady, like nothing had happened. She waited until his breath evened out, until she was sure he was asleep. Then she opened her eyes and stared at the ceiling, rage burning cold and clear in her chest. Waltz. The next morning, Marcus kissed her forehead and told her he loved her. She smiled and said it back. He left for work. She waited 10 minutes, then called in sick. Her boss didn't question it. She never called in sick. She spent the day planning. First, she made copies. Bank statements, emails, texts, everything she could find on the shared cloud, the joint accounts, the files Marcus thought she didn't know how to access. She saved it all to a thumb drive and hid it in a pair of boots she never wore. Second, she called a lawyer. Not Marcus's lawyer, not anyone in his network. A woman named Diane Corbin, who specialized in high-asset divorces and had a reputation for eviscerating cheating husbands in court. The consultation was brief, professional. Diane didn't waste time on sympathy. Do you have proof? She asked. Selena showed her the location data, the photos Dorian had given her, the bank statements showing cash withdrawals that lined up with dates Marcus had claimed to be working late. Diane's expression didn't change. This is enough. But if you file now, it's going to get messy. He'll fight. He'll try to discredit you. You need to be ready for that. I'm ready. Are you? Selena met her eyes. Yes. Diane nodded. Then let's burn him down. Amen. She waited one more week of smiles, of dinners, of pretending. She needed time to move money, to secure her own accounts, to make sure she had leverage. Marcus suspected nothing. On Friday night, he came home late again. Same excuse, same lie. Selena was waiting in the living room, wine in hand, evidence folder on the coffee table. When he walked in, his smile faltered. Hey, you're still up. We need to talk. His eyes flicked to the folder. About what? She stood, picked up the folder, opened it, pulled out the first photo, Marcus and Claire, kissing outside a restaurant. His face went white. Selena, don't. Her voice was calm, flat, colder than she'd ever heard it. Marcus stepped forward, hands raised. Let me explain. Explain what? That you've been fucking her for 6 months? That you set her up in an apartment? That every time you told me you loved me, you were lying? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Marcus? He opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time in 5 years, he had nothing to say. Selena dropped the folder on the table. I want a divorce. Silence. Then he laughed. Not a real laugh, a sharp, bitter sound that made her skin crawl. You're not serious, he said. I am. Selena, come on, you're upset. I get it, but we can work through this. No, you don't mean that. I filed this morning. His face twisted. Rage replaced shock. You what? I filed for divorce. You'll be served Monday. He took a step toward her. You can't do that. I just did. Do you have any idea what you're doing? What this will do to my career? To our life? Our life? She laughed, and it felt like breaking glass. We don't have a life, Marcus. We have a performance, and I'm done performing. He stared at her, breathing hard, fists clenched. For a moment, she thought he might hit her, but he didn't. Just stood there, shaking with fury, and then turned and walked out. The door slammed behind him. Selena sank onto the couch, hands trembling, heart racing. It was done. There was no going back now. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You okay? She stared at it, knew who it was without asking. She typed back, no, but I will be. 3 dots appeared. Then, good. She set the phone down and closed her eyes. The war had just begun. The server arrived Monday morning at 9:47 a.m. Selena knew because she'd been watching the building's security feed from her laptop, coffee gone cold in her hand, stomach twisted into tired knots. She watched the process server walk through the lobby, briefcase in hand, and disappear into the elevator. Watched the numbers climb. 10th floor, 15th, 20th. Marcus's office was on 23. Her phone rang. Marcus. She let it go to voicemail, then called again. And again. 7 times in 3 minutes. Then a text. What the fuck did you do? She set the phone down and waited. 20 minutes later, her door buzzed. She knew who it was before she checked the camera. Marcus stood in the hallway, still in his suit, face red, jaw clenched so tight she could see it through the screen. She didn't open the door. Selena! His voice came through muffled but furious. Open the fucking door! She stayed on the couch, sipped her coffee. Let him yell. I know you're in there. We need to talk. We don't? She called back. Silence. Then a thud, his fist against the door. You can't just blow up our marriage and hide. I'm not hiding. I'm protecting myself. From what? From you. Another thud. Harder. Jesus Christ, Selena, I made a mistake. People make mistakes. She stood, walked to the door, but didn't unlock it. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. What you did was a choice, over and over, for 6 months. Let me in. No. Selena. Talk to my lawyer. She heard him breathe on the other side, heard the barely controlled rage rattling in his chest. When he spoke again, his voice dropped low, dangerous. You're going to regret this. Probably. I will take everything from you. You understand that? Every fucking thing. The apartment, the car, the credit cards, all of it's in my name. You'll have nothing. She leaned against the door, closed her eyes. Then I'll have nothing. You think you can survive without me? I guess we'll find out. Silence stretched, then footsteps. He was leaving. She waited until she heard the elevator ding before she unlocked the door and checked the hallway. Empty. But taped to the door was an envelope. She ripped it open. Inside, a handwritten note on his office letterhead. You want war? You got it. Her hand shook as she crumpled the paper. Mchiki. The next 48 hours moved like a landslide. Marcus froze their joint accounts. All of them. Checking, savings, credit cards, gone. Selena tried to buy coffee Tuesday morning and her card declined. Tried again at lunch. Same result. By the time she got home, there was an email from the bank confirming that Marcus Varelli had restricted access pending divorce proceedings. She called Diane. He can't do that, Selena said, pacing her apartment. That's illegal. It's not illegal, it's aggressive. And it's exactly what I expected. Diane's voice stayed calm, clinical. He's trying to force you into a corner, make you desperate, make you crawl back. I'm not crawling back. Good, because I've already filed a motion for temporary support. We'll get you access to funds within the week, but until then, you need to be smart. Use cash if you have any. Stay off his radar. Selena opened her wallet. $83. I have some. That won't last. Do you have family, friends who can help? She thought about it. Her parents were gone. Her friends were mostly Marcus's friends, wives of his colleagues, women who smiled at her at parties but didn't actually know her. The truth was, she'd built her entire life around him. And now that he was gone, there was nothing left. "I'll figure it out," she said. "Selena, I said I'll figure it out." She hung up before Diane could push further. She figured it out by calling Dorian. She told herself it was practical. He'd given her his number. He'd said to call if things got ugly. Things were ugly. But the truth was messier than that. The truth was she didn't have anyone else. And some small, desperate part of her needed to hear a voice that didn't think she was insane for walking away. He answered on the second ring. "Yeah. It's Selena." Pause. "I know. He froze my accounts." "Expected. I have $80 to my name. How much do you need?" The question caught her off guard. No preamble, no judgment, just direct cold practicality. "I don't want your money," she said. "That's not what I asked." She closed her eyes, hated how much she needed this. Enough to survive until my lawyer unfreezes things. A week. Maybe 2. Done. "Dorian, there's a coffee shop on 5th and Laurel. Meet me there in an hour." "You don't have to." 1 hour. He hung up. Dick. The coffee shop was small, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. Selena arrived early, ordered tea she couldn't afford, and sat by the window watching the street. Dorian walked in exactly 60 minutes after the call. No coat despite the cold, just a black sweater, dark jeans, and that same unreadable expression. He didn't order anything, just sat across from her and slid an envelope across the table. She opened it. Cash. Hundreds. At least $3,000. "This is too much," she said. "It's not." "I can't pay you back. I'm not asking you to." She stared at him, trying to read him, trying to understand what he wanted. Because people like him didn't just hand out money. There was always a price. "What do you want?" she asked. "For you to stop asking that question." "I don't understand you." "You don't need to." She pushed the envelope back toward him. "I'm not taking this." He didn't touch it, just looked at her with those cold, smoke-colored eyes. "You're proud. I get it. But pride doesn't pay rent. And right now, Marcus is counting on you breaking. He's counting on you coming back, begging, apologizing. You take this money, you don't give him that. And what do you get?" His jaw tightened. For the first time, she saw something flicker behind his eyes. Not warmth, not pity, something sharper. "I get to watch him lose," Dorian said. The words hung between them. Selena picked up the envelope. "Why do you hate him?" "I don't hate him. I just don't respect men who break things they're supposed to protect." "You don't even know me." "I know enough." There it was again. That line. She wanted to push, wanted to ask what he saw, what he knew, why he cared. But something in his posture told her the conversation was over. She tucked the envelope into her bag. "Thank you." He stood. "Don't thank me. Just survive." He walked out without looking back. Surviving turned out to be harder than she'd expected. By Thursday, Marcus had moved out of the penthouse and into a hotel, but not before he'd taken everything he could carry. Furniture, art, electronics, gone. He left her the bed, the couch, and a single lamp. Everything else was stripped bare, like he was trying to erase her from the space. She came home to the gutted apartment and stood in the doorway, staring at the empty walls. Her phone rang. Marcus. She almost didn't answer, but something mean and sharp twisted in her chest, and she picked up. "You're pathetic," she said. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing." His voice was smug, satisfied, like he'd won something. "You took the couch," she said. "The couch? What are you, 12? "I took what's mine." "None of it was yours. We bought it together. And I paid for it. With my money. From my job. While you were what? Planning charity events? Playing housewife?" The words landed like a slap. She gripped the phone tighter. "Fuck you, Marcus." "Real classy, Selena. This is why no one's going to take your side. You're emotional, irrational. You always have been. I filed for divorce because you cheated on me. You filed for divorce because you're selfish, because you couldn't handle the fact that I needed more than you could give." Her breath caught. "What did you just say?" "You heard me. You were never enough, Selena. Not in bed, not in public, not anywhere. I tried. I really did. But you're empty. And Claire? She actually gives a shit. She listens. She cares. Something inside her snapped. Then why are you calling me? She asked, voice shaking. If she's so fucking perfect, why are you here screaming at me, trying to ruin my life? Silence. She pressed harder. Because you can't stand it, can you? You can't stand that I left, that I didn't beg, that I'm not crawling back. You're going to regret this, he said. You already said that. I mean it. So do I. She hung up. Then she threw the phone across the room and watched it shatter against the wall. Isakomat. The next morning, a story broke. Not a news story, a social media story. Someone, probably one of Marcus's friends, maybe Marcus himself, posted a long emotional thread about the pain of divorce, how his wife had blindsided him, how she'd accused him of things that weren't true, how she'd destroyed their marriage over nothing. He didn't name her, didn't have to. Everyone in their circle knew. Within hours, Selena's phone was flooded. Messages from people she barely knew, people she hadn't spoken to in years, all offering sympathy to Marcus, asking if he was okay, telling him to stay strong. No one messaged her. By noon, a friend of Claire's had chimed in with her own post, a photo of Marcus and Claire together, smiling, captioned, "Some people are brave enough to choose happiness." The comments poured in, supportive, loving, telling Claire she deserved this, that Marcus deserved this. Selena read it all from her laptop, hand shaking, vision blurring. They were rewriting the story, making her the villain, making him the victim. Diane called. Don't respond. Everyone thinks I'm insane. Let them think that. Responding makes you look desperate. We'll handle this in court where it matters. This is court, Diane. Public opinion is court, and I'm losing. You're not losing. You're being tested, and you're going to pass. Selena didn't feel like she was passing. She felt like she was drowning. That night, someone knocked on her door. She checked the camera. A woman, blonde, young, pregnant, Claire. Selena's stomach dropped. She opened the door but didn't step aside. What do you want? Claire smiled, not friendly, not warm, just victorious. I wanted to see you. Congratulations, you've seen me. You're smaller than I expected. Selena's hands clenched into fists. Get out. This is a public hallway, and this is harassment. Claire's smile widened. She rested a hand on her stomach, deliberate, performative. I'm pregnant. I know. It's Marcus's. I figured. He's going to leave you for me. You know that, right? Selena stared at her, at this woman who'd crawled into her life and torn it apart, at the stomach that held a child Marcus had never wanted with Selena, at the smug, satisfied look on her face that said, I won. And Selena realized something. She didn't care. Not about Claire, not about the baby, not about Marcus choosing someone else, because Marcus had never been a prize worth winning. He's not leaving me, Selena said quietly. I left him, and sweetheart, you didn't win. You just inherited my problem. Claire's smile faltered. Selena stepped closer. You think he's different with you? You think he loves you more? He doesn't. He loves what you represent, the affair, the thrill, the secret. But the second you stop being a secret, the second you're his wife, his responsibility, his problem, he'll do to you exactly what he did to me. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself why he's still fighting the divorce, why he's trying to ruin me instead of just walking away. It's not because he loves you, it's because he can't stand losing control. Claire's face went pale. Selena stepped back. Enjoy your prize. She closed the door and locked it. Then she leaned against the wall, slid to the floor, and finally let herself cry. The breakdown didn't last long. She gave herself 10 minutes. 10 minutes to sob, to shake, to feel every ounce of rage and grief and humiliation. Then she stood up, washed her face, and called Diane. I need to fight harder, Selena said. What are you thinking? He's hiding money. I know he is. The accounts he froze? That's not everything. He's too smart for that. There's more somewhere. Do you have proof? Not yet, but I know where to look. Diane paused. Selena, if you're thinking about doing something illegal, I'm thinking about getting what's mine. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. She hung up and opened her laptop. Marcus was meticulous, obsessive. He documented everything, every transaction, every investment, every deal. And for 5 years, Selena had been his assistant in all but title. She knew his passwords, knew his systems, knew where he kept the files he didn't want anyone to see. She logged into his cloud storage. It took 3 hours, but she found it. A folder buried 6 layers deep, labeled Consulting LLC. Inside were spreadsheets, offshore accounts, shell companies. Money Marcus had been funneling out of their joint assets for over a year, hiding it, building a safety net for himself while leaving her with nothing. She downloaded everything, saved it, backed it up in 3 different places. Then she sent it to Diane with a single message: burn him. The court hearing was scheduled for the following week. Marcus's lawyer was a man named Gerald Finch, expensive, ruthless, the kind of attorney who made careers out of destroying ex-wives in divorce court. He filed a motion accusing Selena of emotional instability, claiming she'd fabricated the affair, that her allegations were baseless and malicious. Diane countered with the evidence: the photos, the location data, the bank records showing payments to Claire's apartment. The judge reviewed everything in silence. Then Marcus's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client admits to a brief indiscretion, a lapse in judgment during a difficult time in the marriage. But Ms. Varelli has blown this completely out of proportion. She's using this as leverage to take assets she didn't earn, to punish my client for a mistake. Diane stood. A mistake that lasted 6 months? A mistake that involved setting up a second residence and funneling marital funds into an extramarital relationship. Alleged funds. Not alleged. Diane pulled out a new document. We have records showing Mr. Varelli transferred over $200,000 from joint accounts into a private LLC over the past 14 months. Money his wife knew nothing about. Money he hid deliberately. The courtroom went silent. Marcus's face went white. The judge looked at him. Mr. Varelli, is this accurate? Gerald tried to interject. Your Honor, we weren't aware. I'm not asking you. I'm asking your client. Marcus swallowed. It's complicated. It's a yes or no question. Yes. The word came out strangled. The judge leaned back. This hearing is continued. I want a full forensic audit of all marital assets within 30 days. Mr. Varelli, you are prohibited from moving, selling, or otherwise disposing of any assets until this matter is resolved. Do you understand? Marcus didn't answer. Mr. Varelli. Yes, Your Honor. The gavel came down. Outside the courthouse, Marcus grabbed Selena's arm. You just made the biggest mistake of your life, he hissed. She ripped her arm free. Let go of me. You think you won in there? You didn't. You just pissed me off. Good. His grip tightened. I will destroy you. I will take everything you care about and burn it to the ground. And when you're left with nothing, you'll remember this moment. Someone cleared their throat behind them. Dorian. He stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, expression cold and flat. She told you to let go. Marcus's face twisted. This doesn't concern you. It does now. Who the fuck are you? Dorian didn't answer, just stepped closer, didn't touch Marcus, didn't raise his voice, just stood there, radiating menace like heat off asphalt. Marcus dropped her arm. Smart, Dorian said. Marcus looked between them, rage and confusion warring on his face. This is who you're fucking now? This guy? Selena's jaw tightened. Go to hell, Marcus. You are, aren't you? Jesus Christ. You leave me, accuse me of cheating, and you've been screwing this piece of shit the whole time? I'm not sleeping with him. Bullshit. Believe what you want. I don't care anymore. Marcus laughed, bitter, cruel. You're pathetic, both of you. He turned and walked toward his car. Selena stood there, shaking, heart pounding. Dorian didn't move, just watched Marcus leave, then looked at her. You okay? No. You will be. You keep saying that. Because it's true. She looked up at him. Why are you here? Because I knew he'd try something. You were watching the courthouse? I'm always watching. The words should have creeped her out, should have set off alarms, but instead they felt like the only solid thing in a world falling apart. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded, started to walk away. "Dorian," he stopped. "Why do you care?" He turned back, and for the first time she saw something raw flicker across his face. Not warmth, not softness, just truth. "Because no one cared when I needed it," he said. Then he walked away, leaving her standing on the courthouse steps, the words echoing in her head. That night the article dropped. She didn't see it at first. Didn't know it existed until her phone started exploding with notifications. The headline was vicious. "Corporate wife's expensive breakdown. Selena Varelli's accusations exposed as gold-digging scheme." The article was detailed, specific. It painted her as manipulative, greedy, unstable, a woman who'd married for money and was now trying to destroy an innocent man's reputation to get more. It mentioned Dorian by name, called him a shadowy figure with alleged ties to organized crime, suggested she was using him to intimidate Marcus. It included photos, her and Dorian on the courthouse steps, her and Dorian at the coffee shop, angles and captions designed to make it look like an affair. The comment section was brutal. "Gold digger, she's insane." Marcus dodged a bullet. Selena read it all, hands shaking, vision blurring, and felt her entire world collapse. Someone had leaked this. Someone had fed the reporter details only a few people knew, and she had a sinking feeling she knew exactly who. She called Diane. "I saw it," Diane said before Selena could speak. "What do we do?" "Nothing." "Nothing? Diane, they're destroying me." "They're trying to, but we don't respond to tabloid garbage. We respond in court, and we win." "No one's going to believe me now." "The judge will. That's all that matters." "What about everyone else?" "Fuck everyone else." The bluntness startled her. Diane's voice softened slightly. "Selena, I know this is hard, but you can't control public opinion. You can only control your actions. And right now, your action is to stay silent, stay strong, and let me handle this in court." Selena nodded, even though Diane couldn't see her. "Okay. You trust me?" "I don't have a choice." "That's not trust. That's desperation. I need you to actually trust me." Selena closed her eyes. "I'm trying. Try harder." The line went dead. The next morning, Selena woke to pounding on her door. She stumbled out of bed, checked the camera. 2 police officers. Her stomach dropped. She opened the door. "Can I help you?" The older officer, graying, tired-looking, held up a badge. "Selena Varelli?" "Yes. We need you to come with us." "Why?" "You've been accused of harassment and stalking." Her heart stopped. "What?" "Mr. Marcus Varelli filed a restraining order. Says you've been threatening him, showing up at his residence, contacting him repeatedly, despite being asked to stop." "That's not true." "Ma'am, we need you to come with us." "I haven't contacted him. He's the one who—" "Ma'am!" The younger officer stepped forward, hand resting on his belt. Not threatening, but clear. Selena's hands shook. "Am I under arrest?" "Not yet, but we need to ask you some questions." She thought about calling Diane, thought about refusing, but she was tired. So fucking tired. "Let me get my coat," she said. "Attack." They took her to the station, put her in a small room with fluorescent lights and a metal table, left her there for an hour. When the door finally opened, it wasn't the officers. It was Marcus's lawyer, Gerald Finch. He sat across from her, opened a briefcase, and slid a document across the table. "Sign this," he said. She looked at it. A settlement agreement. She'd get $50,000 and walk away. No alimony, no assets, nothing. "You're insane," she said. "You're out of options." "I'm not signing that." "Then enjoy the restraining order. Enjoy the stalking charges. Enjoy watching your name get dragged through every newspaper, every blog, every comment section until there's nothing left of you." "He can't do this." "He already is." She stared at the document, at the number that was insultingly small, at the signature line waiting for her to surrender. "Fuck you," she said. Gerald smiled. "Your funeral?" He stood and walked out. The door locked behind him, and Selena sat there, alone in that cold room, and realized Marcus had finally pushed her to the edge. She'd thought she was ready for war, but this? This was annihilation. Jim. They released her 4 hours later. No charges. Just a warning. She walked out into the freezing night, no coat, phone dead, and stood on the sidewalk trying to figure out what the hell to do next. A car pulled up. Black, expensive. The window rolled down. Dorian. "Get in," he said. She didn't argue. Just climbed into the passenger seat and closed the door. He drove in silence. She stared out the window, numb. "Where are we going?" she finally asked. "Somewhere safe." "There's nowhere safe." "There is. You just haven't found it yet." He pulled into an underground garage. Expensive building, high security. Led her to an elevator, up to the 20th floor, into a penthouse that was all dark wood and floor-to-ceiling windows. "Is this yours?" she asked. "For now." He poured her a drink. Whiskey. She downed it. "He's going to win," she said. "No, he's not. You didn't see what he did today. The restraining order, the charges. He's not just fighting me, he's trying to erase me." Dorian set his glass down. "Then stop playing defense." "What?" "You've been reacting, surviving, defending. That's not how you win." "Then how do I win?" He looked at her, really looked. And she saw something flicker in those cold eyes. Something sharp and dark and dangerous. "You make him afraid," Dorian said. The words hung in the air between them. Selina stared at him. "How?" "By showing him you're willing to go further than he is. By making him realize that destroying you means destroying himself." "I don't know how to do that." "Yes, you do." He leaned forward. "You found the offshore accounts, the hidden money. What else is he hiding?" She thought about it, thought about the files she'd seen, the spreadsheets, the transactions that didn't quite add up. "I don't know," she admitted. "Then find out." "That's illegal. So is fraud." She stared at him. At this man who'd appeared in her life like a shadow and refused to leave. Who'd given her money, protected her, pushed her to fight when she wanted to collapse. "Who are you?" she asked. "Someone who knows what it's like to be erased." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I've got." He stood, walked to the window, stared out at the city. Selina watched him, watched the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands clenched and unclenched. And she realized something. He wasn't doing this for her. He was doing this for himself, for some ghost in his past, some wound that had never healed. She stood, walked over, stood beside him. "If I do this," she said quietly, "if I go after him the way you're suggesting, there's no going back." "No. It'll get uglier." "Yes. People will get hurt. They already are." She looked at him. "Will you help me?" Dorian met her eyes, and for the first time she saw something almost human in them. "I'll help you burn it all down," he said. She nodded. The war had just begun. But now? Now she wasn't just surviving, she was hunting, and Marcus Varelli had no idea what was coming. The plan took shape over 3 days. Selina didn't sleep much. Spent most of her time in Dorian's penthouse, laptop open, files scattered across the dining table, tracing Marcus's money through layers of corporate shells and offshore accounts. Dorian came and went, sometimes gone for hours, sometimes sitting across from her in silence, drinking coffee, watching her work with that unreadable expression. She didn't ask where he went, didn't ask what he did. Some part of her didn't want to know. On the third night, she found it. Not just hidden accounts, not just fraud, something bigger, darker. Marcus had been embezzling from his own company, skimming money off client accounts, rerouting funds through fake consulting contracts, building a financial empire in the shadows while his bosses thought he was their golden boy. The amounts were staggering, over $2 million across 18 months. Selina stared at the spreadsheet, hands shaking. "He's going to prison," she whispered. Dorian looked up from his phone. "If you report it..." "If?" "Of course I'm reporting it." "Are you?" She turned to face him. "What does that mean?" He set the phone down. "It means you have leverage now, real leverage. You go to the authorities, Marcus gets arrested, the company collapses, and you get dragged through the investigation as his wife. His accomplice, maybe, in the court of public opinion. Or what? Or you use it against him directly. Make him settle. Give you everything you want. then walk away clean. That's blackmail. Yes, that's illegal. So is embezzlement. She stared at him. You want me to become like him. I want you to win. Not like this. Dorian leaned back, jaw tight. Then what do you want, Selena? Justice? Revenge? Your money back? Because you can't have all three. You pick one and you fight for it, but you don't get to stand on moral high ground while Marcus buries you. The words stung because they were true. She looked back at the laptop, at the numbers, at the proof that could destroy him. What would you do? She asked quietly. I'd burn him. Without hesitation? Without hesitation. She closed her eyes, tried to imagine it. Walking into Marcus's office, laying the evidence on his desk, watching him squirm, forcing him to sign over everything, the assets, the accounts, the apartment, watching him realize he'd lost. It felt good. Too good. And that scared her. I need to think, she said. Dorian nodded, stood. Take your time, but not too much. The longer you wait, the more chances he has to cover his tracks. He walked toward the door. Where are you going? She asked. Out. Dorian. He stopped, didn't turn around. Thank you, she said, for everything. He was quiet for a moment, then, don't thank me yet. The door closed behind him. Dutch that gets. She made the decision alone. Not blackmail. Not threats. She'd go to the authorities. Do it the right way. Let the system handle it. She called Diane first thing in the morning. I have something, Selena said. Evidence. Marcus has been embezzling from his company. Silence on the other end. Then, how much? Over $2 million, Diane whistled low. That's federal. I know. Selena, if you report this, it opens up a whole new investigation. The SEC, the FBI, everyone's going to come looking, and they're going to look at you too. I didn't do anything. You were married to him. You had access to his accounts. They're going to assume you knew. I didn't. Can you prove that? Selena's stomach twisted. I don't know. Then we need to be smart about this. We go to the authorities, but we do it with immunity. We make a deal first. You hand over the evidence in exchange for protection from prosecution. Okay. How long will that take? A few days, maybe a week. I don't have a week. Why not? Because Marcus is dangerous. Because every day I wait is another day he has to destroy me. Diane's voice sharpened. Selena, listen to me. If you do this wrong, you go down with him. Do you understand? You rush this. You make a mistake, and you end up in federal prison right beside him. I understand. Do you? Because you sound like someone about to do something stupid. Selena closed her eyes. I just want this to be over. It will be, but you have to trust the process. I'm trying. Try harder. I'll start making calls. Give me 72 hours. The line went dead. Selena sat in the silence of Dorian's penthouse, staring at the laptop, and felt the weight of those 72 hours settle over her like a stone. Check. She didn't make it to 72 hours. 36 hours in, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something, instinct, desperation, stupidity, made her pick up. Hello? Selena Virelli? Male voice, professional, clipped. Who is this? Special Agent David Brennan, FBI. I need you to come in for questioning. Her heart stopped. What? We're conducting an investigation into financial crimes involving Marcus Virelli. Your name has come up. We'd like to talk to you. I haven't done anything. Then you have nothing to worry about. Can you come in today? I need to call my lawyer. That's your right, but I'd advise you to cooperate. Things go a lot smoother when people cooperate. The threat was barely veiled. I'll call you back, Selena said. Ms. Virelli? She hung up. Her hands shook as she dialed Diane. The FBI just called me, she said when Diane picked up. What? They want me to come in for questioning, about Marcus, about financial crimes. Did you say anything? No, I told them I'd call my lawyer. Good. Don't say anything else. Don't go anywhere. I'm coming to you. Diane, how did they know? I didn't report anything yet. Silence. Diane? Someone else did, Diane said quietly. Someone reported the embezzlement and named you as a potential accomplice. The room tilted. Who? Selena whispered. I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. T. Diane arrived an hour later, briefcase in hand, face grim. They sat in the living room. Dorian's penthouse suddenly felt like a cage. Okay, Diane said. Walk me through everything. When did you find the evidence? Who have you told? I found it 3 days ago. I told you, and… Dorian. Who's Dorian? A friend. Diane's eyes narrowed. The man from the article? The one Marcus's lawyer is trying to paint as your affair? He's not my affair. He's just helping. Helping how? He gave me money when Marcus froze my accounts. He's been… there. Where's he now? I don't know. He left last night. Diane leaned back, rubbed her temples. Selena, I need you to be very honest with me. Do you trust this man? Yes. Why? Because he's the only person who's helped me. Or because you're desperate and he's convenient? The words stung. Selena's jaw tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying I ran a background check on Dorian Cade. You want to know what I found? Selena's stomach dropped. What? Almost nothing. A few shell companies. A couple of real estate holdings. But no employment history. No tax records before 5 years ago. No digital footprint. It's like he didn't exist before 2021. So that's not normal. That's someone hiding something. And if he's hiding something, you need to know what it is before you trust him with evidence that could send you to prison. Selena stood, paced. He wouldn't do that. How do you know? Because… She stopped. Because why? Because he'd looked at her with those cold eyes and told her he'd help? Because he'd handed her cash and told her to survive? Because some broken part of her needed to believe someone gave a shit? I just know, she finished weakly. Diane sighed. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Special Agent Brennan back. You're going to agree to come in, and you're going to tell them everything about the evidence, about how you found it, about when you found it. You're going to cooperate fully, and I'm going to negotiate immunity in exchange for your testimony. What about Marcus? Marcus is going to prison. That's not your problem anymore. And Dorian? You're going to stop talking to Dorian until we figure out who the hell he really is. She didn't stop talking to Dorian. She tried. She really did. But when he walked through the door that night, Chinese takeout in hand, acting like nothing had happened, she couldn't help herself. Where were you? She asked. Out. Doing what? He set the food on the counter. Does it matter? Yes. He looked at her. Really looked. What's wrong? The FBI called me. His expression didn't change. When? This morning. They want to question me about Marcus, about embezzlement. What did you say? Nothing. I called my lawyer. Good. Dorian, how did they know? I didn't report it yet. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, someone else must have. Who? I don't know. Are you lying to me? His jaw tightened. No. Because my lawyer ran a background check on you. She says you don't exist before 5 years ago. Your lawyer talks too much. Who are you? I told you, someone who's trying to help. That's not an answer. He stepped closer. Not threatening, just present. You want my life story, Selena? Fine. I grew up poor. Got involved with the wrong people. Spent 10 years doing things I'm not proud of. Then I got out. Changed my name. Started over. That's it. That's the big mystery. What kind of things? Things that don't matter anymore. They matter if they're connected to this. They're not. She stared at him, trying to read him, trying to see past the walls he'd built so high she couldn't find a crack. Did you report Marcus? She asked quietly. His eyes went cold. No. Would you tell me if you did? Probably not. The honesty gutted her. She turned away. I need you to leave. Selena, I mean it. My lawyer says I can't be around you until this is sorted out. And I need to think. Dorian didn't move. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at her like he was trying to memorize her face. Okay, he finally said. He walked to the door, stopped. For what it's worth, he said without turning around, I didn't betray you. Then who did? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. He left, and Selina stood in the empty penthouse, surrounded by evidence and takeout containers, and the crushing weight of not knowing who to trust. The FBI interview happened 2 days later. Special Agent Brennan was younger than she'd expected. Early 40s, clean cut, with the kind of face that didn't give anything away. He sat across from her in a small gray room, recorder between them, and smiled like they were old friends. Diane sat beside her, silent and sharp. Thank you for coming in, Ms. Varelli, Brennan said. This shouldn't take long. Okay, we're investigating financial irregularities at Varelli and Associates. Specifically, we believe someone has been embezzling client funds. Are you familiar with your husband's work? Ex-husband. We're divorced. The paperwork isn't final yet. It will be. Brennan nodded, made a note. Were you involved in Mr. Varelli's business affairs? No. Did you have access to his accounts? Our joint accounts. Yes. Did you ever notice unusual transactions? Selina glanced at Diane. Diane nodded. Recently, yes, Selina said. I found evidence that Marcus was moving money into offshore accounts, hiding assets. When did you find this? About a week ago. And what did you do with that information? I gave it to my lawyer for the divorce proceedings. Did you report it to anyone else? No. Brennan leaned forward. Ms. Varelli, we received an anonymous tip 4 days ago. Someone sent us detailed financial records showing embezzlement, fraud, and money laundering. The records were comprehensive, extremely comprehensive, almost like they came from someone with inside access. Her stomach twisted. It wasn't me. The tip came from an encrypted email, untraceable, but the information included details only a few people would have known. I didn't send it. Then who did? I don't know. Could your lawyer have sent it? No. Could someone else with access to your files? She thought about Dorian, about the nights he'd sat across from her while she worked, about the files open on her laptop, about how easy it would have been for him to copy everything when she wasn't looking. Ms. Varelli? Brennan pressed. I don't know, she repeated. Diane cut in. Agent Brennan, my client has been cooperative. She's provided you with information. If you're trying to implicate her in something, say so. Otherwise, we're done here. Brennan sat back. We're not trying to implicate anyone. We're trying to understand the timeline. Because here's the thing, whoever sent us this tip, they didn't just send evidence, they sent a narrative, a story about how Marcus Varelli defrauded his clients and used his wife as a cover, how she managed the household accounts, had access to everything, and turned a blind eye. Selina's blood went cold. That's not true. I believe you, but the narrative is convincing, and if we can't figure out who sent it, the assumption is going to be that you did, and you're trying to save yourself by cooperating. That's insane. That's how these things work. Diane stood. We're done. You want to question my client further? You get a subpoena. She grabbed Selina's arm, pulled her up. Brennan didn't stop them, just watched as they walked out. Minutes. They made it to the parking garage before Selina fell apart. She leaned against Diane's car, hands shaking, breath coming in short gasps. Someone set me up, she whispered. We don't know that yet. Who else could it be? Who else had access to those files? Diane hesitated. Dorian. No. Selina. He wouldn't do that. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Based on what? A feeling? He's a stranger. A man with no past who showed up at the exact moment your life fell apart. You don't find that suspicious? Selina's chest tightened. Because she did. She'd always found it suspicious, but she'd ignored it because she needed someone. Because the alternative was being completely alone. What do I do? She asked. You cut contact with him, completely, and you let me handle this. And if he's innocent? Then he'll understand. Bolcham. She went back to the penthouse. Dorian was there. He stood by the window, back to the door, hands in his pockets. Didn't turn when she walked in. They think I'm the one who tipped them off, she said. I know. How do you know? Because that's what I think too. She stared at his back. Did you do it? He turned. His face was unreadable. No. Then who did? I don't know. You keep saying that. Because it's true. She stepped closer. Diane thinks it was you. She thinks you're setting me up. Your lawyer's smart. Is she right? He held her gaze. If I wanted to set you up, you'd already be in handcuffs. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Her hands clenched into fists. I need to know if I can trust you. You can't. The words hit like a slap. What? She whispered. You can't trust me, Selena. You can't trust anyone. Not Diane, not the FBI, not Marcus. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone's playing their own game. The only person you can trust is yourself. That's bullshit. No, that's survival. She felt something crack inside her. Get out. Selena, get the fuck out of my life. He didn't move, just stood there, looking at her with those cold, unreadable eyes. You think kicking me out is going to save you? He asked quietly. It's not. Whoever did this, whoever sent that tip, they're not done. They're going to keep pushing until you break. And when you do, Marcus wins. The FBI wins. Everyone wins except you. Then what am I supposed to do? Fight? I am fighting. No, you're surviving. There's a difference. She stared at him. At this man who'd inserted himself into her life and refused to leave. Who'd given her money and protection and advice and never asked for anything in return. Who terrified her and grounded her in equal measure. Why do you care? She asked, voice breaking. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, because I know what it's like to lose everything, and I know what it takes to get it back. What does it take? Blood. The word hung in the air. She wanted to ask what he meant, wanted to push, but something in his expression stopped her. He walked past her toward the door. Dorian. He stopped. If you didn't send the tip, she said, help me find out who did. He looked back at her. You sure you want to go down that road? I don't have a choice. He nodded slowly. Okay. Okay? I'll find out who did this. But when I do, you might not like the answer. I don't care. You will. He walked out. The answer came faster than she expected. Dorian called her at 3 a.m. I know who sent the tip, he said. She sat up in bed, heart pounding. Who? Claire. The name didn't register at first, then it hit her. Claire. Marcus's mistress. The pregnant woman who'd shown up at her door. That doesn't make sense, Selena said. Why would she? Because Marcus lied to her, told her he was divorcing you, told her they'd be together. But when the divorce didn't happen fast enough, she got suspicious, started digging, found the embezzlement, and decided if she couldn't have him, no one would. Selena's mind raced. How do you know this? Because I found her, and I asked. You? What? I found her, Selena, and I made her tell me the truth. His voice was flat, cold, and Selena realized she didn't want to know what made her meant. Is she okay? Selena asked. Define okay. Dorian, she's alive. That's all you need to know. Selena's hands shook. You can't just... I can. And I did. Because you needed answers. Not like this. Then how? You want to send her a politely worded email? File a complaint? She tried to destroy you, Selena. She fed the FBI a story that could have put you in prison, and she did it out of spite. So what do we do now? Now you decide. Do you want revenge, or do you want to win? What's the difference? Revenge is making her pay. Winning is making sure Marcus pays. Selena closed her eyes. I want to win. Then we go after Marcus. We take everything she gave the FBI and we use it against him. We make sure he's the one who goes down. Not you. How? Leave that to me. The line went dead. That's... The next morning, Selena woke to a knock on the door. She opened it expecting Dorian. Instead, it was Agent Brennan, with handcuffs. Selena Varelli, he said, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering. Her vision blurred. What? You have the right to remain silent. This is a mistake. He grabbed her arm, turned her around, snapped the cuffs on. Wait, she struggled. I didn't do anything. Tell it to the judge. He led her out of the penthouse, down the elevator, into the parking garage where two more agents waited. As they shoved her into the back of an SUV, she saw him. Dorian. Standing across the street, watching. Their eyes met, and in that moment, she saw something in his expression she'd never seen before. Guilt. The door slammed shut. The SUV pulled away, and Selena sat in the back seat, hands cuffed, world collapsing, and realized she'd been played. Not by Marcus, not by Claire, by the one person she'd trusted when she had no one else left. The holding cells smelled like bleach and desperation. Selena sat on a metal bench, hands still cuffed in front of her, staring at the concrete floor. Her mind raced in circles, trying to piece together how she'd ended up here. Every conversation with Dorian, every file she'd opened, every moment she'd trusted him replayed in fragments, sharp and jagged, cutting into her until she couldn't breathe. The door opened. Agent Brennan walked in, folder under his arm, coffee in hand. He looked tired, disappointed even. "Ms. Varelli," he said, "we need to talk." She didn't look up. "I want my lawyer." "Your lawyer's on her way, but I thought you might want to hear what we have first." "I don't." He sat across from her anyway, opened the folder, slid a document toward her. She glanced at it. Bank records, transfers. Her name on half of them. "These accounts were opened in your name," Brennan said. "Over the past 6 months, $200,000 moved through them. Money that came from Marcus Varelli's embezzlement scheme." "I didn't open those accounts." "Your social security number is on the paperwork, your signature." "It's forged." "Maybe, but the IP addresses used to access these accounts. They trace back to your home, your laptop." Her stomach turned to ice. "That's impossible." "Is it?" "Because our forensics team says otherwise." She looked up at him. "Someone set me up." "Who?" The question hung in the air. She wanted to say Dorian's name, wanted to scream it, but something stopped her, some survival instinct that said if she gave them Dorian now before she understood what he'd done and why, she'd lose whatever leverage she had left. "I don't know," she said. Brennan sighed, leaned back. "Here's the thing, Ms. Varelli. I believe you." She blinked. "What?" "I think someone did set you up. I think you got caught in the middle of something bigger than you realized. But believing you and proving it are two different things. Right now, the evidence says you were complicit. And unless you can give me something, anything, that points in another direction, I have to move forward with the charges." "What do you want from me?" "The truth. Who helped you find the embezzlement evidence? Who had access to your laptop? Who knew enough about Marcus's business to build a case this detailed?" Dorian's face flashed in her mind. Those cold eyes, that flat voice. "If I wanted to set you up, you'd already be in handcuffs." He'd known. He'd fucking known this was coming. "I need time," she said. "You don't have time. The arraignment is in 6 hours. You either cooperate now or you go in front of a judge with nothing." The door opened again. Diane strode in, heels clicking, face sharp with fury. "We're done here," she said. "My client isn't saying another word without me present." Brennan stood. "Ms. Corbin, save it. You arrested her without cause, violated her rights, and you know it. I'm filing a motion to dismiss within the hour." "Good luck with that." Diane stepped closer, voice dropping to something lethal. "You charged her based on circumstantial evidence and an anonymous tip. You have no witnesses, no direct connection, and no motive. Any halfway decent judge will throw this out before lunch." "Then I guess we'll see what the judge says." He walked out. Diane waited until the door closed before turning to Selena. "Are you okay?" "No." "Did you say anything?" "Nothing useful." Diane pulled up a chair. Sat. "Okay. Talk to me." "What the hell is going on?" Selena's voice cracked. "Dorian found out who sent the FBI tip. It was Claire, Marcus's girlfriend. She wanted revenge." "How did Dorian find out?" He went to her, made her talk." "Made her how?" Selena didn't answer. Diane's expression hardened. "Selena, if he hurt her, I don't know what he did. He just said he made her tell the truth." "And you believed him?" "I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice." Selena looked up, eyes burning. "Then what was mine, Diane?" Trust the man who's been helping me or trust the system that's been failing me? Because so far, the system put me in handcuffs and Dorian's the only reason I knew what was coming. He's also the reason you're in this mess. You don't know that, don't I? Think about it. He shows up out of nowhere, gives you money, gets close, gains your trust. Then suddenly the FBI has evidence with your name all over it. You think that's a coincidence? Selena's chest tightened. Why would he do that? I don't know, but we're going to find out. The arraignment was brutal. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, Marcus's colleagues, people Selena didn't recognize. She stood beside Diane in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, and listened to the prosecutor lay out the charges. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, obstruction of justice. Each word felt like a nail in a coffin. The judge, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and no patience for bullshit, read through the charges in silence, then looked at Selena. How do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honor, Diane said. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the people request remand. Ms. Varelli is a flight risk. She has access to significant assets through her pending divorce. Assets that are frozen, Diane cut in. My client has no money, no passport, and nowhere to go. She's not a flight risk. She's a victim. A victim who benefited from her husband's crimes. Alleged crimes, and there's no evidence my client knew about any of it. The judge raised a hand. Silence fell. Bail is set at $500,000, she said. Cash or bond. Next hearing in 30 days. The gavel came down. Selena's knees buckled. Diane caught her. It's okay. We'll figure it out. I don't have $500,000. I know. Then what do I do? Diane's expression was grim. You make a call. She didn't want to call Dorian, hated herself for even considering it, but as she sat in the holding cell waiting for someone, anyone, to post bail, the reality settled in. She had no one else. Her family was gone. Her friends had disappeared. Marcus had made sure of that. The guard brought her a phone. She stared at it for a long time, then dialed. Dorian answered on the first ring. Where are you? County jail. Arraignment just finished. Bail? 500,000. Silence. Then, I'll handle it. Why? Because you need help. Did you set me up? The question came out raw, broken. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter than she'd ever heard it. No. Then who did? I'm working on it. That's not good enough. It's all I have right now. Dorian, if you did this, if you used me to get to Marcus, or to cover your own ass, or for whatever sick reason, I swear to God, I didn't. Then prove it. I will. But first, I need to get you out. The line went dead. Odds. 2 hours later, she was released. Dorian was waiting outside, leaning against his car, hands in his pockets. He looked the same as always, calm, controlled, unreadable. She walked toward him, fury and exhaustion warring in her chest. Why are you doing this? She asked. Get in the car. Answer the question. Get in the fucking car, Selena. She did. He drove in silence. Not toward the penthouse, somewhere else. The city blurred past, lights streaking together, and she realized she didn't care where they were going, didn't care about anything anymore. They pulled into an underground garage, luxury building, high security. He led her to an elevator, up to the 15th floor, into an apartment she'd never seen before. It was sparse, clean, almost empty. A safe house, maybe. Sit, he said. She sat. He poured her a drink. Whiskey. She downed it. Talk, she said. He leaned against the counter. Someone's playing both of us. What does that mean? It means the account's in your name? They weren't opened by you or by me. Someone else did it. Someone with access to your information and the technical skills to make it look real. Who? I don't know yet, but I have a theory. Which is? Marcus. She stared at him. Marcus set me up? Think about it. He knew you were building a case against him. He knew you had evidence. So he created a trail that made you look complicit. If you go down, your testimony becomes worthless. The evidence gets thrown out. He walks. Her mind raced. But the FBI tip came from Claire. Did it? You said... I said Claire told me she sent it. But what if she was lying? What if Marcus fed her just enough information to make her think it was her idea? Selena's head pounded. Why would he do that? Because Marcus doesn't just want to win, he wants to destroy you. And framing you for his crimes? That's the ultimate fuck you. She stood, paced. If that's true, how do we prove it? We find whoever opened those accounts. We trace the IP addresses, the logins, the transactions, and we prove it wasn't you. And if we can't, Dorian's jaw tightened, then we make Marcus confess. They spent the next 48 hours digging. Dorian had resources Selena didn't ask about. People who could hack systems, trace digital footprints, pull records that shouldn't exist. She sat beside him, watching code scroll across screens, listening to phone calls in languages she didn't understand, and felt herself slipping further into a world she didn't recognize. On the second night, they found it. The accounts had been opened from an IP address registered to a coffee shop 3 blocks from Marcus's office. Security footage from that coffee shop showed Marcus himself, sitting with a laptop on the exact dates the accounts were created. Got him, Dorian said. Selena stared at the screen, at Marcus's face, smug and focused, destroying her life one keystroke at a time. What do we do with this? She asked. We take it to the FBI. They won't believe us. They'll say it's fabricated. Then we make sure it's airtight, chain of custody, multiple sources, everything documented. That'll take time. We don't have time. She looked at him. Then what? His eyes met hers, and for the first time she saw something dangerous flicker there. We go to Marcus directly, he said. Bach. They found Marcus at his hotel. Expensive, top floor, the kind of place where security didn't ask questions if you looked like you belonged. Dorian walked in like he owned it. Selena followed, heart hammering. They took the elevator to the 22nd floor, knocked on Marcus's door. He opened it in a bathrobe, drink in hand, surprise flashing across his face. Selena. She shoved past him into the suite. Marcus looked at Dorian. Who the fuck is this? Someone you should have been afraid of, Dorian said, stepping inside. Marcus backed up. I'm calling security. Go ahead, Selena said. Call them. Tell them your wife, the one you framed for embezzlement, just showed up with proof you're a lying, manipulative piece of shit. Marcus's face went white. She pulled out her phone, showed him the footage, the bank records, the timestamps. We know what you did, she said. We know you opened those accounts in my name. We know you faked my signature. We know you fed Claire just enough information to make her think she was the one turning you in. You can't prove any of that. We just did. Marcus looked at Dorian. You helped her with this? Do you have any idea who you're fucking with? Yeah, Dorian said. A coward who hides behind lawyers and lies. Marcus's jaw clenched. He turned to Selena. What do you want? Everything. The divorce settlement, full alimony, every asset in your name, and you drop the charges. That's insane. That's the deal. And if I don't, then we take this to the FBI. We take it to your company. We take it to every reporter who'll listen, and we watch you burn. Marcus laughed, bitter, desperate. You think you're going to win? You think anyone's going to believe you over me? I don't need them to believe me. I just need them to doubt you. And once that doubt is out there, your career is over. Your reputation is over. Everything you've built collapses. He stared at her, and for the first time she saw fear in his eyes. You're bluffing, he said. Try me. Silence stretched. Then Marcus moved. He lunged for Selena, grabbing her arm, twisting it behind her back. She gasped, pain shooting through her shoulder. Dorian moved faster. He grabbed Marcus by the throat, slammed him against the wall, and held him there. Marcus clawed at Dorian's arm, choking, eyes bulging. Let her go, Dorian said, voice flat. Marcus released her. Dorian didn't let go, just held him there, pressure increasing, until Marcus's face turned red. Dorian, Selena said. Stop. He didn't move. Dorian, you're going to kill him. Maybe. Don't. Why not? Because he's not worth it. Dorian's grip tightened for one more second, then he released. Marcus collapsed, gasping, hands on his throat. Selena stepped over him, looked down. You have 24 hours, she said. Sign the settlement. Drop the charges, or we release everything. She walked out. Dorian followed. They made it to the elevator before she fell apart. Her hands shook. Her breath came in gasps. She leaned against the wall, knees buckling. Dorian caught her. You're okay. I'm not. You are. You just faced him. You won. Did I? Because it doesn't feel like winning. It will. The elevator doors opened. They stepped out into the lobby and stopped. Agent Brennan stood by the entrance, 2 agents flanking him. He looked at Selina, then at Dorian. Ms. Varelli, he said, we need to talk. Her stomach dropped. About what? About Claire Ashford. She was found dead 2 hours ago. The world tilted. Selina looked at Dorian. His expression didn't change. Suicide, Brennan continued. At least that's what it looked like. But the timing's convenient, don't you think? Right after she supposedly gave information about Mr. Varelli to an unnamed third party. I didn't, Selina started. Not you, him. Brennan's eyes locked on Dorian. Dorian Cade, or whatever your real name is. You're under arrest for the murder of Claire Ashford. 2 agents moved forward. Dorian didn't resist, just let them cuff him, face blank. He looked at Selina. Run. What? Run, now. I'm not leaving you, son. Selina, run. The agents dragged him toward the door, and Selina stood there, frozen, watching the one person who'd fought for her disappear into the night. Brennan turned to her. You're free to go, for now, but don't leave town. He walked out. Selina stood alone in the lobby, heart hammering, mind screaming. Everything had just fallen apart. Again. Bites. She went back to the apartment. Dorian's apartment. The safe house. Sat on the couch, stared at the wall. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but she did. Hello? A woman's voice. Calm. Professional. Ms. Varelli, my name is Catherine Webb. I'm an attorney. Dorian Cade retained me to represent him. And you. I don't understand. He anticipated this. The arrest. The charges. He has a plan. What plan? One that requires you to trust him. Can you do that? Selina closed her eyes. I don't know. Then let me make it simple. Dorian didn't kill Claire Ashford, but he knows who did. And if you want to clear both your names, you need to do exactly what I tell you. Which is, meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring everything you have on Marcus, every file, every record, every piece of evidence. Why? Because we're not just taking down Marcus anymore. We're taking down everyone. The line went dead. Selina sat in the silence, phone in her hand, and realized she'd just stepped into something far bigger than a divorce. This wasn't about her and Marcus anymore. This was war. And the only way out was through. She didn't sleep. Spent the night going through files, organizing evidence, building a case. Her hands shook. Her eyes burned. But she didn't stop. At 9:30 a.m., she left the apartment. The meeting was in a law office downtown, high-rise, expensive. Catherine Webb was younger than Selina expected. Mid-30s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. They sat in a conference room, evidence spread across the table. This is good, Catherine said, flipping through documents. But it's not enough. What do you mean? Marcus didn't do this alone. He had help. Someone inside his company. Someone who knew how to move money, forge documents, cover tracks. Who? That's what we need to find out. Selina's head spun. How? Catherine slid a laptop across the table. Dorian left you access to his servers. Everything he's been working on. Names, transactions, connections. It's all here. Selina opened the laptop and froze. Because there, in the first file, was a name she recognized. Diane Corbin. Her lawyer. Her fucking lawyer. No, Selina whispered. Catherine's expression was grim. I'm sorry. She was helping Marcus? She was helping herself. Marcus paid her to sabotage your case, feed him information, make sure you stayed off balance. Selina's vision blurred. That's why the bail was so high. That's why she kept telling me to wait. She was buying Marcus time. How long has Dorian known? Since the beginning. Then why didn't he tell me? Because he needed proof, and he needed you to trust him enough to get it. Selena stood, paced. Her whole world was collapsing. Again. What do I do? She asked. Catherine leaned forward. You go to court tomorrow. You face Marcus. You face Diane. And you burn them both. How? With this. She pulled out a flash drive. Everything. Marcus's embezzlement, Diane's conspiracy, Claire's murder, which Marcus orchestrated, by the way. It's all here. Selena stared at the drive. Who killed Claire? A man Marcus hired, professional. Made it look like suicide. And Dorian? He's bait. Marcus thinks with Dorian in custody, you'll fold. He's wrong. Selena took the flash drive, felt its weight in her hand. What happens to Dorian? He gets released the second Marcus goes down. But that only happens if you're strong enough to finish this. Selena looked up, met Catherine's eyes. I'm strong enough. Are you? I have to be. Catherine nodded. Then let's end this. A tick. The final hearing was set for the next morning. Selena walked into the courtroom in a black suit, hair pulled back, evidence folder in her hand. Marcus sat across the aisle, smug and confident. Diane sat beside him. They thought they'd won. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Be seated. The prosecutor started, laid out the charges against Selena, made her sound like a criminal mastermind. Then Diane stood. Your Honor, given the evidence, we move to dismiss all charges against Ms. Varelli and proceed with a settlement in the divorce proceedings. The judge looked at Selena. Ms. Varelli, do you have counsel? Catherine stood. I'm representing Ms. Varelli, Your Honor, and we have new evidence. She approached the bench, handed the judge the flash drive. What is this? The judge asked. Proof that Marcus Varelli orchestrated the entire scheme. Proof that he embezzled funds, framed my client, and conspired with her former attorney to sabotage her defense. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged the gavel. Order. Diane's face went pale. Your Honor, this is... Sit down, Ms. Corbin. The judge loaded the drive, reviewed the contents in silence. Minutes passed. Then she looked up. Her expression was ice. Mr. Varelli, she said. Stand. Marcus stood, confusion flickering across his face. Based on this evidence, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Bailiff, take him into custody. What? Marcus's voice cracked. You can't. Two bailiffs moved forward. Marcus looked at Diane. Do something. Diane didn't move, just sat there, frozen, because she knew she was next. Ms. Corbin, the judge continued, you're hereby disbarred pending investigation into ethics violations and criminal conspiracy. Diane's face crumbled. The judge turned to Selena. All charges against Ms. Varelli are dismissed. The divorce is granted. Assets are to be divided as follows. 70% to Ms. Varelli, 30% to Mr. Varelli, pending resolution of criminal charges. The gavel came down. It was over. Bussin. Selena walked out of the courthouse into blinding sunlight. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions. She ignored them. Just kept walking. Until she saw him. Dorian. Standing by his car, hands in his pockets, bruise on his jaw. She stopped. He looked at her. And for the first time, she saw something soft in his eyes. Not warmth, not love, just recognition. She walked over, stood in front of him. You could have told me, she said. Would you have believed me? Probably not. That's why I didn't. She looked at the bruise. Did they hurt you? I've had worse. Why did you do it? All of it? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, because I know what it's like to be destroyed by someone you trusted, and I know what it takes to come back from that. Which is? Someone willing to fight when you can't. Her throat tightened. Thank you. He nodded, started to turn away. Dorian? He stopped. What happens now? He looked back at her. Now you rebuild. You take everything you just won and you make something new. And you? I disappear. Why? Because that's what I do. What if I don't want you to? His expression shifted, something uncertain flickering there. "Then I stay," he said quietly, "for as long as you need me." She stepped closer. "I need you," she whispered. He looked at her, really looked. And then, for the first time, he smiled. Not much, just a slight curve of his mouth, but it was enough. "Okay," he said. She took his hand, and together they walked away from the courthouse, away from the wreckage, away from everything that had tried to destroy them, toward something new, something theirs, something real. The silence that followed victory was heavier than the war itself. Selena stood in the penthouse she'd once shared with Marcus, boxes stacked against walls that still held the ghost of furniture he'd stripped away. The court had awarded her 70% of everything, the money, the properties, the investments. It should have felt like triumph, should have felt like justice. Instead, it felt hollow. She walked to the window, looked out at the city sprawling beneath her, and realized she didn't recognize the woman reflected in the glass. Not anymore. The person who'd sat at that Christmas gala in a crimson dress, smiling through the pain, was gone. Dead. Buried under layers of rage and survival and choices that had left scars she'd carry forever. Her phone buzzed. A text from Catherine. Marcus pled guilty. Sentencing in 6 weeks, estimated 12 to 15 years. Selena read it twice. Felt nothing. She set the phone down and walked into the bedroom. The bed was still there. The one thing Marcus hadn't taken. She sat on the edge, hands in her lap, and let the weight of the past months settle over her like a shroud. Footsteps behind her. She didn't turn, already knew who it was. Dorian stood in the doorway, watching her with those smoke-colored eyes. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know what that means anymore." He walked over, sat beside her, not touching, just present. "You won," he said. "Did I?" "The courts think so." "The courts don't know shit." He almost smiled. "Fair." She looked at him, really looked, at the bruise fading on his jaw, at the exhaustion carved into the lines around his eyes, at this man who'd inserted himself into her collapse and refused to leave even when it would have been smarter to run. "Why did you stay?" she asked. "You asked me to." "That's not a reason." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "My wife died 6 years ago." The words hit like a physical blow. Selena stared at him. "What?" "Cancer. Stage 4. They gave her 6 months. She lasted 8. His voice stayed flat, controlled, but something underneath it trembled. "I had money, resources, connections, and none of it mattered. I watched her waste away and couldn't do a fucking thing to stop it. Dorian, her family blamed me, said I worked too much, didn't notice the symptoms soon enough. Maybe they were right. I don't know. But after she died, they came after me. Tried to take everything, said I'd manipulated her, isolated her, stolen from her." He looked at Selena. "They made me the villain in a story I didn't write. And no one believed me when I said I loved her." Selena's throat tightened. "What happened?" "I fought. For 2 years. Spent everything I had on lawyers. Lost most of it anyway. By the time it was over, I had nothing left. No wife, no family, no life. So I disappeared. Changed my name, started over. And now? Now I see people getting destroyed by the ones they trusted, and I can't walk away." She reached out, took his hand. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I made my choices." "So did I." He looked down at their joined hands. "You think you lost something, don't you? Some part of yourself you'll never get back." "Didn't I?" "No, you just became someone else, someone stronger." "I don't feel stronger. I feel broken." "Good. Broken things rebuild better than perfect ones." She wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that all the rage and pain and ugliness she'd waded through had meant something. That she wasn't just a victim who'd clawed her way to revenge, but had actually transformed into someone new. But belief required energy she didn't have. "What happens now?" she asked. "You decide." "Decide what?" "What kind of life you want." She looked around the empty penthouse, at the boxes, at the absence. "I don't know how to do that." "Then start small. What do you want right now? Today?" She thought about it, really thought. I want to leave, she said. This apartment, this city, all of it. Then leave. And go where? Anywhere. She looked at him. Will you come with me? He hesitated, and in that hesitation she saw the truth. You're not staying, are you? She said quietly. I wasn't planning to. Why not? Because I'm not good for you, Selena. I'm the kind of person who solves problems with violence, who breaks rules and justifies it later. You deserve better than that. What if I don't want better? What if I just want you? His jaw clenched. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. You're still in survival mode. Once you're clear of this, once you rebuild your life, you'll realize you don't need me. She stood, pulled her hand free. Don't tell me what I need. Selena, you think I don't see you? You think I don't know what you are? She stepped closer. You're broken. You're dangerous. You've done things you won't talk about, and I don't care. Because you showed up when no one else did. You fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. And if you walk away now because you've decided I'm too good for you, you're a coward. He stared at her, something raw flickering in his eyes. I'm not a good man, he said quietly. I'm not a good woman. Not anymore. You could be. I don't want to be. I want to be real. The words hung between them. Then Dorian stood, stepped closer, looked down at her with an expression she couldn't read. If I stay, he said, it won't be clean. It won't be simple. I can't give you normal. I don't want normal. What do you want? You. Messy, complicated, real. He searched her face, looking for doubt, for hesitation. He wouldn't find it, because for the first time in months, Selena knew exactly what she wanted. Slowly, carefully, he reached up, cupped her face in his hands. Okay, he whispered. Then he kissed her. And in that kiss, she felt everything they'd both survived, every scar, every wound, every choice that had led them here. It wasn't soft, wasn't gentle. It was truth. Deshatek. They left the city 3 days later, packed what little Selena wanted to keep, mostly files and a few photographs, and drove. No destination, no plan, just movement. They stopped in a small town 2 hours north, found a motel with a vacancy sign flickering in neon, rented a room for the night. Inside, Selena sat on the bed while Dorian stood by the window, staring out at nothing. What are we doing? She asked. Running. From what? Everything. She leaned back against the headboard. How long can we do this? As long as we need to. And then? He turned to face her. Then we figure out what comes next. You're not very good at planning, are you? No. She smiled despite herself. Neither am I. He walked over, sat beside her. You regret it? Walking away? No. Do you? Ask me in a year. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. She rested her head on his shoulder, felt his arm come around her, and for the first time in months, she let herself stop running, stop fighting, stop thinking 3 moves ahead. She just existed, and it was enough. Morning came cold and gray. Selena woke to find Dorian already awake, sitting at the small table by the window, laptop open. What are you doing? She asked. Checking something? What? He closed the laptop. Marcus's sentencing got moved up. Tomorrow. She sat up. Why? He's cooperating, giving names, trying to reduce his sentence. Will it work? Probably. He'll get 8 years instead of 15. Maybe less. She should have felt angry, should have felt cheated, but instead she felt nothing. Good, she said. Dorian looked at her. Good? He's going to prison. That's enough. You sure? I'm sure I don't want to spend the rest of my life hating him. He studied her. You mean that? I do. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or understanding. Then we don't go to the sentencing, he said. We don't. We just keep driving. We just keep driving. He nodded, closed the laptop. Where to? She thought about it. Somewhere quiet. That's not very specific. I don't need specific, I just need a way. Okay. They packed up, checked out, got back in the car. As they pulled onto the highway, Selena looked out the window and watched the town disappear behind them. No regrets, no looking back. Just forward. They drove for 6 hours before stopping again. This time, a bed and breakfast on the coast. Small, charming. The kind of place people went to disappear. The owner, an older woman with kind eyes, didn't ask questions, just handed them a key and pointed them to a room on the second floor. It was simple, clean, a bed, a dresser, windows overlooking the ocean. Selena stood at the window watching waves crash against the rocks below and felt something inside her finally break open. Not collapse, just release. Tears came before she could stop them. Dorian was there immediately. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." He pulled her close, let her cry into his chest, didn't try to fix it, didn't tell her it was okay, just held her. When the tears finally stopped, she pulled back, wiping her face. "Sorry," she muttered. "Don't be. I don't usually fall apart like that." "You've earned it." She laughed weakly. "That's one way to put it." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You're going to be okay. You keep saying that." "Because it's true." "How do you know?" "Because you're still standing." She looked up at him, at this man who'd become the only constant in a world that had tried to erase her. "What if I don't want to keep standing?" she asked quietly. "What if I just want to rest?" "Then we rest." "For how long?" "As long as you need." She closed her eyes, leaned into him, and let herself believe it. They stayed at the bed and breakfast for 3 weeks. No phones, no news, no reminders of the world they'd left behind. They walked the beach every morning, ate breakfast on the patio, spent afternoons reading or just sitting in silence. At night they talked, about everything, about nothing. Dorian told her about his wife, about the life he'd lost, about the man he used to be before grief had hollowed him out. Selena told him about her parents, about growing up poor, about marrying Marcus because she thought it would mean security, and realizing too late that security without love was just another kind of prison. They didn't make promises, didn't talk about the future. They just existed together. And slowly, piece by piece, Selena felt herself coming back to life. Not the person she'd been before Marcus, not the woman in the crimson dress who'd smiled through the pain. Someone new, someone who'd survived and come out scarred but whole. On the 21st day, she woke early, slipped out of bed, and walked down to the beach alone. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The ocean stretched endless before her, waves rolling in steady and constant. She stood at the water's edge, bare feet sinking into the sand, and realized something. She wasn't angry anymore. Not at Marcus, not at Diane, not at Claire or the FBI or the world that had tried to crush her. She was just free. The realization hit hard, made her knees weak. She sank down into the sand, hands covering her face, and laughed. Actually laughed, because it was over, all of it. The war, the fight, the rage. Over. Footsteps behind her. Dorian sat down beside her, silent. "I'm okay," she said. "I know." "Really okay?" "I know." She looked at him. "What happens now?" "That's up to you." "I want to go back." His expression didn't change. "To the city?" "No, just back to living, building something. I don't know what yet, but something." "Okay." "You'll come with me?" He was quiet for a moment, then, "If you want me to." "I do." He nodded. "Then I will." She took his hand, laced their fingers together. No more running. No more running. They sat there as the sun climbed higher, painting the world in gold. And for the first time, Selena felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Yes. They returned to the city 6 months later. Not to the penthouse. Not to the old life. To something new. Selena used the settlement money to start a foundation, a nonprofit helping women escape abusive marriages, providing legal support, financial resources, housing. The work was hard, exhausting, but it was real, and it mattered. Dorian stayed, not in the spotlight. He didn't want that. but behind the scenes, using his skills and connections to protect the women who needed it most. They didn't get married, didn't make it official, but they built a life together, messy, complicated, real. Exactly what they'd both needed. 1 year after the trial, Selena received a letter from Marcus. She almost threw it away without reading it. Almost. But curiosity won. She opened it. The letter was short, handwritten. Selena, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything from you, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. For everything, for the lies, for the betrayal, for trying to destroy you when you were the only good thing in my life. I've had a lot of time to think in here about who I was, who I became. And I realize now that I was never good enough for you. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. And I was too much of a coward to be real with you. I hope you found peace. I hope you found someone who deserves you. I hope you're happy. Marcus Selena read it twice. Then she folded it, put it back in the envelope, and set it aside. Not with anger, not with satisfaction, just closure. She never wrote back. 2 years after everything fell apart, Selena stood in the same ballroom where it had all begun. The Grandeur Hotel, Christmas gala, same chandelier, same crowd. But this time, she wasn't performing. This time, she belonged. Dorian stood beside her, hand resting lightly on the small of her back. Not possessive, just present. The CFO was giving a speech about resilience and growth. The same speech as before. The same empty words. But Selena didn't care, because she wasn't listening. She was looking around the room at the women in designer dresses, smiling through their own private wars, and she saw herself, saw who she'd been. And she wanted to tell them they didn't have to smile, didn't have to perform, didn't have to stay. But she didn't, because some lessons couldn't be taught, only learned. The speech ended. Applause rippled through the crowd. Dorian leaned close. You ready to get out of here? She smiled. Yeah. They walked out together, past the bar, past the coat check, past the gilded elevator doors, and stepped into the cold December night. Selena stood on the sidewalk, looking up at the building she'd once thought represented everything she wanted, and realized it had never been about the building, or the money, or the life she thought she was supposed to live. It had always been about choosing herself. Dorian's hand found hers. Where to? She looked at him, at this man who'd seen her at her lowest and stayed anyway. Home, she said. Where's that? She smiled. Wherever we are. He smiled back, and for the first time it reached his eyes. They walked down the street, hands linked, city lights glittering around them, and disappeared into the night. Not running, not hiding, just living, together. And that was enough. 3 years later, on a cold January morning, Selena stood in a small courtroom watching a woman she'd never met sign divorce papers. The woman was young, scared. Her husband sat across the aisle, glaring. Selena had seen that look before, knew what it meant. When the hearing ended, Selena approached the woman in the hallway. Hi, she said. My name's Selena. I run a foundation that helps women in situations like yours. If you need anything, resources, legal help, a safe place to stay, here's my card. The woman took it, hands shaking. Thank you. You're going to be okay. How do you know? Selena smiled. Because you're still standing. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Selena squeezed her shoulder. You've got this. Then she walked away, leaving the woman holding the card, and stepped outside into the winter air. Dorian was waiting by the car. How'd it go? He asked. She'll make it. You sure? I'm sure. He opened the door for her. She climbed in. As they pulled away from the courthouse, Selena looked back one last time. At the building. At the woman standing on the steps, card clutched in her hand. And she thought about that night. The Christmas gala, the empty chair, the phone notification that had shattered her world. She didn't regret it. Not the pain, not the rage, not the war. Because all of it had led her here. To this moment, to this life. To herself. She turned forward, reached over, took Dorian's hand. Thank you, she said. For what? For not letting me disappear. He looked at her. You would have found your way back. Maybe, but it was easier with you. He squeezed her hand. It was easier with you too. They drove through the city, past the skyscrapers and the noise and the endless rush, and Selena felt something settle deep in her chest. Peace. Not the kind that came from winning, the kind that came from surviving, from choosing to rebuild, from refusing to let the world make her small. She leaned back in her seat, closed her eyes, and smiled. Because she wasn't the woman in the crimson dress anymore. She wasn't Marcus's wife. She wasn't the victim. She was Selena Varelli, survivor, fighter, builder, and no one would ever make her invisible again. 5 years after the collapse, Selena stood on a stage in front of 300 women. The foundation had grown, expanded to 5 cities, helped over 2,000 women escape abusive situations. Tonight was the annual fundraiser. She stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd, and felt the weight of every story in the room. 5 years ago, she began, I sat in a ballroom not unlike this one, wearing a dress I couldn't afford, smiling at people who didn't see me, and pretending my life was perfect. And then it all fell apart. My marriage, my reputation, my sense of self, everything. The room was silent. I thought the collapse was the end, she continued. I thought losing everything meant I'd lost myself. But I was wrong. Because the truth is, you can't lose something you never really had. And the person I was before, the woman who smiled through the pain, who made herself small, who believed love meant sacrifice, she wasn't real. She was a performance. She paused. Let the words settle. The woman I am now, she's real. She's scarred. She's angry sometimes. She's tired. But she's mine. And no one gets to take that away. Applause started. Soft at first. Then building. Selena looked out at the faces staring back at her. Saw recognition. Saw pain. Saw hope. If you're here tonight because you're trying to escape something, a marriage, a relationship, a life that's suffocating you, I want you to know you will survive. It won't be easy. It won't be clean, but you will make it through. And on the other side, you'll find yourself, the real version, the one who doesn't apologize for taking up space. The applause grew louder. She stepped back from the podium. And as she walked off stage, she saw him, Dorian, standing in the back, arms crossed, watching her with that same unreadable expression. But this time, when their eyes met, he smiled. And she knew. She was home. That night, they sat on the balcony of their apartment, wine in hand, city lights stretching endlessly below. You were good tonight, Dorian said. Thanks. You believe it? What you said up there? Every word. He nodded, sipped his wine. You ever think about him? She didn't have to ask who he meant. Sometimes, she admitted. Not often. And when I do, it's not with anger anymore. It's just memory. Good. What about you? You ever think about your wife? Every day. She looked at him. Does it still hurt? Not like it used to. Now it's just part of me. She reached over, took his hand. I'm glad you stayed. Me too. They sat in silence, watching the city pulse with life. After a while, Selena spoke. Do you think we're happy? Dorian considered the question. I think we're real, and that's better than happy. She smiled. Yeah, it is. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain. Selena closed her eyes and let herself feel it, all of it. The pain, the triumph, the scars, and underneath it all something steady and solid and true. She'd survived. More than that, she'd rebuilt. And this time she'd built something that couldn't be taken away because it was hers. Completely. Irrevocably. Hers. She opened her eyes, looked at Dorian. I love you, she said. He looked at her. And for once, his expression wasn't unreadable. It was open, vulnerable, real. I love you too, he said. And in that moment, sitting on a balcony overlooking a city that had tried to destroy them both, Selena Varelli finally understood what it meant to be whole. Not perfect, not undamaged, just whole. And that was everything.